Hey gamers, this is Lo-Fi Bluebird, um, the guy that brought you horses. And today I'm going to be going over basically the things that we are adding to this new sort of rule update, trying to kind of talk it through my mouth words instead of just putting it into the rule set, and hopefully it'll help you sort of see the little things that we're adding here and hopefully help you be able to grasp them a little bit better. Or maybe this is going to be a big ramble um, and make no sense. We'll see. So essentially, what we're adding is 2.5 new things. You may be asking, what is the half? Um, and that is number one, support cards. Number two, our new speed rules with a Z. And our 1.5 is wit. Mainly, that wit is going to be um, kind of referring back to that number one. So kind of they're the same thing, but also they're a little different, and we'll go over it. So essentially, support cards are probably what you've already seen, and they're these snazzy little graphics that we have here. We're releasing 6 with this update, and I don't know how often we're going to be releasing them. We're probably going to keep releasing them in batches of 6, so you'll always have new little options. And essentially, you're going to be able to have 2 equipped at a time. Um, and the rules will probably specify like how you're able to equip and unequip them. Haven't really decided that yet. I'm kind of recording this early, but essentially you'll be able to have 2 equipped at a time, and they'll be able to help you both during races and also in training. So I will go over those specifically. First, let me bring something up. Because one of them's a little different, but we'll get into that. So you know these symbols right here. That's speed. That means that this is a speed card. If you don't really know what the symbols mean, just give somebody an ask. We'll be able to help you out with those. But this means that this is a speed card. And this means that it offers a static 50 point boost to the stat next to it, in which case the speed stat. So let's say your speed stat is 300. Then if you have this card equipped, then you automatically have a speed stat of 350. And let's say you have 2 speed cards equipped, then suddenly you're looking at 400 speed just from having those 2 cards equipped. So that's very helpful as to give you just a quick stat boost on the thing that you might need. And I think it'll help people be able to build their characters a lot more simply. If you want to be somebody who's more powerful, maybe you're an end closer and you want to be able to just like power through a huge field of people, then you'll be able to boost that with some power cards very simply. And if you unequip these, so let's say you have that 400 because you have 2 speed cards attached to your character equipped. Let's say you take off one of those cards and replace it with something else, then your stat becomes 350 again. So essentially you have to keep in mind that the static stat boosts are only available to you if you equip the cards. So just keep that in mind when you're unequipping and equipping. We'll try to keep track of that stuff just in case. But yeah, that's what this means. And then we have this. You don't recognize this probably because it's not a game icon. I got that from like an icon website. But this is your training boost. And essentially what this means is that for every person who has this card equipped, and every person who posts in a training thread with you, you'll get this added to your training results. So you've probably seen these training threads where you get like a plus 50 boost that's just like basic, or like a plus 10 if you have a trainer. You get these little boosts here and there that dictate how many points you can add to your stats for that training thread. And essentially what this does is that for every person who has this card equipped and posts in that training thread, you get this many points added to the amount that you can allocate to your stats. So let's say in that training thread, we have 2 people who have this card, then that means you get a plus 10 because your cards. Because you have a card in common with these people. And I think this kind of like it's kind of can be our form of that system in the game where you have your friends from your support cards and they might all be in speed, and therefore you get a bigger speed boost. It's kind of that same sort of deal. So you get that added to your overall, and you don't have to allocate the speed. You can allocate it as you would any other training bonus. But the point is that you get that little extra training bonus depending on if somebody has the same card as you. And I think that adds like a really cool sort of choice mechanic, because you might this card might not be the best. Maybe it's like the second best that you're able to use, and maybe there's a first best card, but you might use this card instead still because it gives you that training boost that maybe the other card is not as popular. So you can have that sort of like weighing the pros and cons and seeing what's best for moving your character forward. That I think is really fun. And yeah, so that's what this is all about. And then we have these two, what I call stack skills, because you're capable of stacking them. And all of these skills are going to be kind of simple. You just add that extra little bonus onto, in this case, onto your character's movements, their speed, if they start on a ping point, which is these things, the corner points. And they're going to be very simple like that, and they won't do very much each. Like this one only gives you a protection, but it gives you a protection from being rushed for the first 2 turns of a race, which is, I think, useful, but it's not like game breaking. So you're able to stack these, and actually, like I said, you're able to have 2 cards assigned to each character, equipped to each character, and so that gives you a total of 4 potential stack skills that you can use, and you can use all of these skills potentially during one race. So unlike the inspiration skills, where you're only able to pick one of them per race, you can use all of these per race, plus your inspiration skill. So there's a lot of stuff you can perhaps do. And I keep saying perhaps or potentially. And that's because of this 1.5. This like I said, I'm still in the selection. Like I said, it's because of this 1.5. This sort of addition, this expansion of wit. And that's because, like I said, you have 4 potential stack skills because you have those 2 cards times 2 skills. Pretty simple. So I'm saying potential because when you do that paddock post, or when you do those like pre-race posts, what I want you to do is roll an amount of die. The amount of this die depends on your wit stat. So let's say your wit stat is 300. You're going to calculate this just as you would your speed stat. So if you have 300 speed, you're moving 3 points. You really just are looking at this. And if you have 300 wit, you're going to be rolling 3 times in this pre-race. And each of these rolls are going to be 1d4s. So they're going to have 4 sides to them. And essentially, let's say you do these 3 rolls as somebody with 300 wit, and you roll a 2, a 4, and a 1. What you're going to be looking at is your highest roll, in this case a 4, and that is the amount of these stack skills that you have at your disposal for that race. So let's say you roll a 2, a 3, and a 1, then you only have 3 of the 4 available stat skills, the 4 potential stack skills available for you for that race, and you have to pick and choose which one you want to leave out. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't really make sense to you, you can DM me and I can kind of try to give a better explanation. But the idea is that the higher wit you have, the more sort of guarantee you have to be able to use all 4 of your stack skills in the race. And I think this graphs onto the game pretty well, because if you look at what determines when skills are done or how many skills are done in a race, it's your wits. It's your wit stat. So I think that carries over pretty well. And like with speed, if you have under 100 wit, then that still just equals 1 wit roll. So like 0 to 199, that's 1 roll, and then 200 to 299, 2 rolls. 300 to 399, 3 rolls, and so on. So that first little bit, it's technically 200, like a range of 200, and then after that it's a range of 100 for each. And you really are just looking at this to determine how many rolls you're gonna do. So that's the extra little bit that's added to your wit stat. That I think is like a pretty easy way of implementing it further into the game without being a little bit without being confusing or like intruding too much into the game itself. And the rush mechanic is still going to be a thing tied to wit. So lower wit, more chance you have to rush. Anyway, that's going to be as it stands what wit's whole deal is. And yeah, that's the support cards. One last thing about support cards. I guess I could do a couple things about support cards. This is the identifier. This is just going to be like what set it is. So like the next set of 6 that we have is going to be B1, B2, and whatever. And all of these cards are going to be on the site with a code that you can enter based on this. And you can ask me later. I'm probably going to put it somewhere because I don't want to get it wrong on this video. It's something like no, I don't think I remember it, but it's something like this, and you're able to just like type that in, and then it will pop up this. But I don't know if this is right. It could be. I always forget it. It's something like that. Point is, there's a code for it, so you can put it into your signature. You can put it into a profile post to keep track of this sort of stuff. And hopefully that'll make it a lot more simple to kind of keep this stuff in mind. So that's support card and wit. And the last thing we're going to talk about are the new speed rules. So as you've seen, a big issue with the game as it is now is that speed is very, very powerful, as it should be in a racing sort of game. But it's basically insurmountable if somebody has the highest speed of the pack, especially in these early sort of races where stamina isn't too crazy, so you can run at 4 speed versus somebody who is running at 2 speed, and you can just keep spamming 4 speed the entire race and be totally fine. So we wanted to add an extra little layer to how speed is calculated to still give people who have speed advantages the advantage that they deserve. I mean, like if you have 5 speed and the people that you're versing have 2 speed, then you probably are going to be in a good spot to win the race. But we don't want to make it 100% this race is over by turn 2. We want to give those people who are back some options to kind of catch up and keep it competitive so that maybe they can pull it out by some miracle. So let's say that our runner, we're gonna be very thorough with this. So we have runner number 1 and runner number 2. Let's say runner number 1 has 400 speed, and runner number 2, they have 200 speed. And because of this discrepancy, let's say that runner number 1 is here at D2, and runner number 2 is here at, let's say it's pretty bad, he's at C2. Should have made sure that these were different colors, but whatever. Point is, what we would do in our typical system is we would have second place. Let's say this guy's turn is already over, and his movement's already over, and then this guy is moving next, and he does the 200 or the 2-point movement using his 200 speed. As the system is now, this is where the movement ends. But as you can see, this is just going to keep on growing, and he's not really going to have any chance of doing anything else. So it's a little boring. So what we're going to do now is factor in the gap after you do this guaranteed movement. So now what this will do is give you 2 points of movement guaranteed, but it's not the max that you can potentially run during that turn or during that movement. So after you move that 2 points, what you will do is look at this gap, the gap between you and first place. Or it might be that you're in fourth and this guy is in third. Then you'll look at the gap between third and fourth place. But let's say if, in this example, it's first and second. You'll look at the gap and you'll see, okay, so there's 1 point and 2 points. So there's 2 points between first and second. Okay? So you'll take that and turn that into a dice roll. So this would become a 1d2. You'll do a dice roll with 2 sides. And so whatever you come up with, let's say that you do a 1d2 roll and that yields a 2, then you're able to get to this point. And suddenly you have this capability of closing this gap just based on how big the gap is. Now, under this system, you will never be able to go from here to outright passing this guy. You'll never be able to do that because it's based on this gap. And you will never be able to end a turn on the same point as this guy. You'll always be behind him no matter what. But what this does is it gives you a chance to get close enough to him that maybe you can rely on a rush, maybe you can rely on a skill, things like this. Maybe you can rely on a third person where he blocks that person, and you can rely on a couple other things to maybe eke out a win. And we'll look at this, let's say instead of 2 points, let's get rid of all of this. Let's say instead of 2 points, this gap is more like this. I still have eraser on. It's more like this, where this guy's on, oh my god, on D4 now. So now this guy did his 2 turns, his 2 guaranteed points of movement, and now he has to look at this gap and see that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 points long. And so now he's doing a 1d4. And as you can see, because this has more sides, there's more of a chance that you'll only roll a 2, and you'll still end up just right here with more space between you. And this guy will always be faster than you, so he'll always be able to have that chance to keep widening the gap. But the point is that you also, as the person behind him, have a chance to kind of keep up, keep competitive, and wait for something like a rush to maybe fuck him. I mean to heck him, because we are a G-rated server. So I thought this system could add a little bit of a catch-up mechanic without being too OP. And also there's one more aspect of this mechanic, and that is that we are going to start it at this and see if we need to adjust it accordingly. This can only be used for a gap that is 6 points and under. Or it can always be used, but you can't move more than 6 points to make up a gap. So if this guy is so fast that he is all the way up here and he's about to win, then you're going to look at this gap between you and him. You're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points between you and this guy. This guy is just so out of your league in terms of speed. It doesn't matter that this is 10 points. You're not going to run a 10-sided die. You're just going to run a 6-sided die. 6 is going to be the top that we currently work with in terms of being able to sort of close gaps if need be. So that means that the most that this guy can travel is up to here, regardless of how wide the gap actually is. And this is just so that the rubber banding doesn't get ridiculous, because, like, let's say this guy cracks it and hits a 1d10, hits the 10. Then suddenly we have this dude all the way up here, which, like, number one, if you've earned that gap, a point to where you're so far ahead like that, then you like that would be kind of cheap. But also, then let's say that third place was looking forward to, like, he was right here. Let's say he was looking forward to only having to do like a 1d1, or I guess that would be guaranteed. I maybe we should go to the drawing board on that one. But the point is that he was looking forward to having a shorter gap to bridge the distance, and now he suddenly has to bridge this entire thing. And what that would do is leave like ridiculous rubber banding where like everybody is moving suddenly like all over the place based on how far away the guy in front of them jumped. And like I wanted to implement a limit so it's not getting kind of overboard. It still kind of makes sense without, and it still gives you the option of bridging gaps without being too crazy. So we're gonna try it with a 6. Maybe 6 is still too crazy, and we need to try it with like a 4 or a 1. Keep in mind this is a short track, so like these tracks are gonna be a lot longer. So 6 is not gonna be as monumental as it may look on this track. But yeah, as far as that goes, that's basically the explanation for this gap closing system that we've added to the rules. Obviously, if you're confused, let me know. Just shoot me a message, post in questions and suggestions. We've done some playtesting with this. It seemed like people were having fun with it. And I just discovered in real time that maybe a 1d1 doesn't make much sense. So perhaps the system will only work if the gap is too wide. By the time you're seeing this video, that'll be decided. And I'll let you know. But yeah, I don't want to make this video too long. Hopefully that explains everything. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you for being active, cool people, creating this community. I've had a blast with it. I want to keep having a blast with it. And yeah, hopefully this helps a lot of the issues that we were having with these make debuts. Thank you.